Hello, everyone. It's Brian with you. Having recently been described as the high priest of threads and competitions in the vinyl community by Ben Rankins in Melbourne, I'm going to do a contest, as we call them over here, and perhaps tomorrow, a thread response. I have no choice having that title now, so I'm going to do it. And the contest I'm going to enter is from Jack, whose channel is Vinyl Martini. As a fellow that lives in Victoria, where I have been, I was there about 5 or 6 years ago. Really enjoyed it. Went to 3 record stores and bought 1 record, as I recall. And yeah, nice guy. You should go to his channel if you're not already subscribed, because he has a really cool channel, to be honest. So here we go. This contest show 3 to 5 solo artists who never left the band. So not someone who went on a solo career leaving the band behind, but someone who continued with their band but put out at least a solo record. So I'm going to show 5, and I'm going to show them in the order in which they occurred to me. And the first person that occurred to me was a guy called Craig Finn, who is the singer and songwriter, or at least the lyricist, for a band called The Hold Steady, which is one of my favorite bands. I've talked about them before, and Craig has released 5 solo records plus a compilation of B-sides and rarities. Now, The Hold Steady put out the first record in 2004. The last one came out last year, and then Craig has had solo records peppered in there, including one that just came out very recently. Originally, he was from a band called Lifter Puller from Minneapolis, where he was born, and now he lives in Brooklyn. So I'll just pick one at random because I can't show you them all. This is his second record called Faith in the Future, which is good. I'm going to pull out the insert because I think there's a photo of him here. There's the label, and this is what Craig looks like. I guess you would say maybe an unlikely rock star. I guess there's always a risk that when you make a solo record, it's going to sound exactly like the band you're from, especially if you're the singer. I don't think that's true in this case because the band Hold Steady, if you don't know them, are more like a rock band, like a pub band, high energy, lots of power chords, whereas on his solo records, Craig tends to be a little more subdued. Things like, it brings horns into it, more of a story. Well, he's always been a storyteller, but very different kind of sound apart from the voice. He's been compared to Springsteen. I think that's true maybe in the lyrics, but not necessarily in the case of the sound, for sure. So I recommend him, especially if you know The Hold Steady. The second artist that occurred to me is one that I might have to preface with apologies to Mike at TCAT Deep Final Tracks, because I'm sure I'm treading on his toes. I have a feeling he might have considered this person. And by the way, I have avoided watching some of these. I have a number I have planned to watch because as I watched them, I realized people were showing things that I planned to show, and so then I thought I'll just do it and then I'll watch them later, so I don't have that issue of, oh, he already showed that record. So this is an artist named Adrian Belew, who joined King Crimson, that band with the ever-changing lineup, in 1981 when the first record came out, which was Discipline, of the new lineup. And he was in the band until 2013. So in other words, he spent 32 years as a member of King Crimson. In that time, released, as by my count, 16 solo records, plus a compilation, and I think a couple live records. So a large number of records came out. Not only that, he, at certain parts of his life, he's been a studio musician, previously toured with Bowie, well, actually, that's in the 80s, I guess. Worked with the Tom Tom Club, just a whole list of things, 9 Inch Nails, etc. So a very accomplished, influential guitarist. Also Laurie Anderson, of course, I mentioned that before. This record contains Big Electric Cat, which is one of my favorite Adrian Belew tracks. So really interesting that, King Crimson had ups and downs during the period he was there, where they went to kind of like a hiatus and came back, but they recorded up until 2013, and then the new lineup came out, and Robert Fripp did not invite Adrian Belew to be a part of that, and my memory of what Adrian Belew said at the time is he was disappointed with that. So I think King Crimson's best singer, for sure. He's got a really interesting voice and a real singer. So, did I say it was called Lone Rhino? Containing the song Lone Rhinoceros. The third person that occurred to me was a guy named Matt Berninger, who is the lead singer of The National, and perhaps this is a case where the solo record does sound quite a bit like The National. A little different though. He's the lead singer. This record came out in 2020. It was produced by Booker T. Jones, Booker T. and the MGs. The National and the Hold Steady both have released 8 records. This is really pleasant though. One More Second is a great song. I think there's some really, really good songs on here. So anyway, I recommend it. It's Gail Ann Dorsey, who you might know that name as a singer who's worked with other people. All right, number 3. Number 4, I chose Andy Partridge. So Andy Partridge, of course, from XTC, a band that started in the early 70s, released their first record in 77, their last in the year 2000. This is a record that came out in 1980 after the first 3 XTC records, called, well, on one side it's called Takeaway, and the other side is called The Lure of Salvage. Now, these are experimental pieces. So it says, this used to be some XTC records. It is now a collection of tracks that had been electronically processed, slashed, shattered, and layered with other sounds or lyrical pieces. So I'd say kind of like a dub version. If you like Go Plus, which I think is a fantastic collection of XTC dub tracks, then this record weighs approximately the same amount. So anyway, it has some interesting things. So again, tracks that were on the first 3 XTC records or B-sides on the XTC records, and some of them like completely unrecognizable. Like New Broom is, I think, Making Plans for Nausea, but you would never guess it. Now, interestingly, this did not get good reviews. I think the reviews of this were quite scathing, except for this statement, which I'll read to you. However, in Japan, the record was hailed as a work of electronic genius and outsold all other XTC albums. And I would agree with that. I think this is amazing, a really interesting record. So I would check that out if you ever see this and you're an XTC fan. I think it's worth getting. The last one is one that maybe some people disagree with me, but it's important to remember that this record came out in 1984, and the artist did not announce his intention to leave the band until 1985. So when this came out, he was still part of the band. I have to cover part of it up, and that's Roger Waters, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. My memory of this is that Roger Waters brought 2 projects to Pink Floyd. One was The Wall, and one was this, and the band opted for The Wall, so he recorded this as a solo record. Yeah, he was still in the band when this came out. That's just the lyrics. And I think it's interesting. I think The Wall is probably better. I think the band made the right choice, but I think this is a pretty good record and kind of an interesting record, and then he never came back. Anyway, so the story is here. Jack is giving $100 away to a local food bank rather than giving a prize to the winner, whether that prize is like a record or a gift card. So I think that's a really interesting way to approach a contest. So I think that's really an excellent choice from Jack, and I will put a link to his channel below. You should go and check it out if you don't already know Jack. And once again, thanks for watching.